What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be going over my thoughts in the Tomb of Sargeras cinematic, what happened, the brief background behind the characters, and the story for those of you guys who aren't subscribed to Legion at the moment, or who are unfamiliar with the lore, and also my thoughts on the events that transpired. So it goes without saying that if you have not cleared the Tomb of Sargeras, or you don't want any spoilers and you want to see the cinematic for yourself in-game, you probably shouldn't watch this video. But if you don't give two shits, let's go ahead and get started. So after defeating the Avatar of Sargeras, Velen pursues Kil'Jaeden through a portal. We, with Illidan and Khadgar by our side, follow the Prophet and emerge from the portal onto Kil'Jaeden's command ship. Velen then confronts Kil'Jaeden, stating that the Demon Lord's hunt against Velen and the Draenei from this day on will be over. Furthermore, he also recalls the events that happened on Argus all those years ago, when the Naaru revealed themselves to Velen and warned him about Sargeras' evil, showing him that the offers Sargeras presented to the Eridar will only corrupt them. When Velen showed these visions to both Archimonde and Kil'Jaeden, they dismissed the vision as a false one and deemed Sargeras' offer as the only way to truly deliver their people unto greatness, therefore abandoning their faith in the light. On Kil'Jaeden's command ship, Velen says that if they both had worked together, if Kil'Jaeden had stayed true to his faith in the light, they could have resisted Sargeras and saved Argus. Now to be honest, I don't know how they would have managed to resist the raw power of a being as powerful as Sargeras, but hey, in the fantasy universe of Warcraft, I would take the word of a couple thousand-year-old squid prophet over a dude who's telling the story of the couple thousand-year-old squid prophet any day. Kil'Jaeden responds to his old friend by asking where the light was to save Rakeesh, Velen's son. And in those last moments of Rakeesh's life, was it the light that Velen had saw in his son's dying eyes? Enraged at this, Velen and the heroes of the Horde and the Alliance slaughter Kil'Jaeden's troops and fight the Demon Lord himself, where after a long battle of carrying tunnelers and keyboard turners, we put an end to the Demon Lord. As the fight concludes, Kil'Jaeden's ship begins to crash towards Argus, and in those final moments, Illidan and Khadgar make the necessary arrangements to portal the champions of Azeroth to safety, while Velen confronts his over 25,000-year-old friend. It is here, at the brink of death, where Kil'Jaeden finally admits his regrets. He admits that he has always been jealous of Velen's faith, gift, and vision, and most importantly, he said that back then, when Sargeras confronted them, he never thought that they would be able to stop Sargeras. But now, after seeing events unfold as they do, after seeing how many times Azeroth managed to thwart the Burning Legion, he may in fact be wrong. Now it's at this point where one of the strongest and most important things in this cinematic happens. Velen touches Kil'Jaeden's head, and Kil'Jaeden seems to instantly go from a state of pain and agony to a state of peace and tranquility, and perhaps even awe, as stated by some people I've seen in the comments. But we'll go ahead and get back to this later. After putting his hand on Kil'Jaeden's forehead, Velen along with all of us retreat back to Azeroth and Kil'Jaeden dies. However, upon arriving in Azuna, we see that the death of the deceiver was not the only thing we had achieved. By using the Sargerite keystone to make our escape, Illidan opens a rift between Argus and Azeroth, and in doing so, Argus is also now visible in the sky. So that's pretty much the end to the cinematic and the events that transpire following KilJaedens Death. Now let's go ahead and go on to not only my thoughts, but the thoughts of you guys as well on the matter. Going back to Velen's hand placement on Kil'Jaeden. To most people, including myself, this act right here may seem pretty straightforward at first glance. However, despite this, a lot of people still debate as to what specifically actually happened. The most common answer is simply that it was an act of forgiveness, despite the hunt and chase across the stars for Velen's people, despite corrupting Velen's own son, sending him to assault the Exodar, and in mocking his death minutes before the encounter, Velen forgives him. Kil'Jaeden admits that he was wrong to lose faith in the light, and Velen forgives him. Now this is what I first believed when watching the cinematic, but when critically thinking about it and reading some of the comments, it may be somewhat far-fetched that there was a little more to this act. Some believe that Velen showed Kil'Jaeden a vision, a final vision that revealed to Kil'Jaeden the fall of Sargeras, thus easing his passing. Now you may sit there and say, what? That's impossible. Well, is it impossible? Regardless on what you believe, hear me out for a second. I'm not specifically saying that this theory is right or wrong, I just want to go ahead and explain some facts and then let you guys be the judge. Now when Sargeras came with this offer to the Eridar, the Naaru showed Velen a vision that not all was as it seemed. The vision showed Velen that his people, should they join Sargeras, would become corrupted and transform into the Man'ari. the Draenei word meaning something horrifically wrong. This vision also showed him how their people would become a force of destruction, a legion which would flood over countless worlds, drowning it in blood and fell fire, and completely abandoning the teachings of the light. This vision played a huge part in saving Velen and his people thousands of years ago. It is why you can play as a talking squid out of water in World of Warcraft. If this happened from a vision, it's not too impossible to believe that Velen showed Kil'Jaeden a vision of the Legion being defeated either. Also, another example is how Illidan was shown a vision by an Elder Naru where he was one of the leaders of the Army of the Light, fighting both the Legion and the Void. Now, since we're dissecting this whole thing about Velen's hand placement, I just want to add something else to the table that I personally don't think happened within the cinematic, but I wish that it did, since it simply could have been and would have been a pretty powerful way to end the scene, at least in my opinion. So, mind linking. Velen had the ability to link minds with that of others to share with them his visions, thoughts, and feelings. When he had this vision, he shared it amongst his closest friends so that they would understand his concerns. All of what he saw, all of what he felt, would be relayed onto them. When he first experienced this vision of the Burning Legion, he linked his minds to that of Archimonde and Kil'Jaeden, both of whom saw what Velen saw and felt what Velen felt, but both ultimately dismissed it as a false vision. Velen, saddened but still wary not to give them the impression that he planned on rejecting Sargeras' offer, detached his thoughts from that of their own, severing his connection to his brethren. Although the three leaders constantly shared their thoughts and concerns freely amongst each other prior to Sargeras' offer and arrival, once Velen severed the connection with his two old friends, Archimonde and Kil'Jaeden, he would never re-establish it. However, at the end, it would have been nice to see that the touch to Kil'Jaeden's forehead was not only an act of forgiveness, but was Velen once more linking their minds together as a sign to show that despite all that has happened throughout the thousands of years, it would end as it began, before the arrival of Sargeras, with both of them regarding each other as brothers. It would be a beautiful end to the tragic story between the two leaders who once regarded each other as close friends, and it's definitely how I would want the story to conclude. The only issue may be that Velen may not be willing to outright go that far as to do all that, especially with all the suffering Kil'Jaeden has caused him over the years, but remember, he is the prophet. The light chose him for a reason. He has his gift for a reason. He was the one who had the willpower to reject Sargeras' offer. With Velen, it might just be possible. So, which one of these possibilities do I think is true? Unfortunately, as much as I would like to believe in the vision theory or the mind-linking one, I just have to go with the answer that Velen was just giving a straightforward forgiving gesture and that, there's really not much else to it. In this cinematic alone, there isn't enough subtle hints or evidence to prove otherwise or to prove more. No mark indicating the re-establishing connection of a mind link between Kil'Jaeden or Velen, just Kil'Jaeden's face relaxing as he sees his old friend depart. Between the two theories, if one of them had to be true, I can see the vision one being a little bit more true, since visions happen all the damn time in the light power wielding world, and Kil'Jaeden did look like he was relieved at the end. But when it comes down to it, guys, I just think it was a simple, straightforward gesture. But hell, if I had to say in what went on in the cinematics department, I'd definitely go with the mind linking one. I mean, how cool would that be? They began connected before the arrival of the fallen titan Sargeras, and then they cut ties as both felt as one betrayed the other, but in the end, they reached a sense of solace once again and became connected. That's a pretty powerful way to end, in my opinion, and it's just a shame that it doesn't look like they carried it out that way. Now, I did do my homework, guys. I actually reached out to my contact in Blizzard and messaged him about these two possibilities that were going on in my head to see if, maybe one of them were true or whatnot, but unfortunately, they replied by saying that they couldn't provide me with a direct answer, since this is one of those things that they have to refrain from commenting on until the whole story plays out for the public to see in Legion and whatever events may unfold after. So, what do you guys think? In your eyes, was the gesture just a simple sign of forgiveness, or is it possible that the cinematic we saw had a deeper, more subtle meaning which concludes the story of brothers turned enemies? But hey guys, that's my thoughts after seeing the comments debating about the cinematic, about certain things in the cinematic. Personally, I love the entire cinematic, I love the raid as well, but I would have added a bit more to, the end of the cinematic regarding Velen and Kil'Jaeden. However, regardless, it's great to see Velen and Kil'Jaeden finally concluding their feud, and I just wanted to give you guys some insight on my thoughts and the thoughts that I saw online regarding regarding this matter based on the past events of not only the abilities of the light, but the lore of the Draenei as well. Let me know what you guys think down below, and until next time folks, I will see you later.